I believe it's the everyday change maker, people like you and me, who have the power to make real meaningful change one small step at a time. Hi, I'm Linda Mackey, and I'm a personal brand photographer and coach, helping entrepreneurs to breathe life into their image, passion, and purpose. And this is the Eloquent Entrepreneur Podcast, where I chat with my clients and changemakers alike from across Canada and beyond about the work they do, the stories that have shaped them, and the impact that they're making, all to inspire and motivate others to do the same. Because making a difference just starts with showing up, and these conversations remind us just how empowering that can be. So welcome to the show and enjoy. Hi, I'm Linda Mackey of Linda Mackey Creative, a personal brand and commercial photographer and an intuitive guide on your visual entrepreneurial journey. And this is the Eloquent Entrepreneur, a show where I chat with everyday change makers about the work they do, the stories behind them, and the impact that they're making in the world. Today, I have a very special guest, Jill Lawrence. She's a very talented website designer, mindfulness and meditation teacher, and she's the co-founder of the Cowichan Women's Business Network. I've had the pleasure of working together as clients, and most of all, I'm happy to say she's become a very close friend. Jill, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I want you to tell everybody, what's your work all about? What do you love most about it?
My focus is on growing and launching CWBN. So that's the Cowichan Women's Business Network. And that has been a vision that I've held for almost the entire time that I've been an entrepreneur. If I back up, my entrepreneurship journey began in marketing. And I was, at the time, I had a daycare out of my house and the kids were going into school. And I thought, well, if my youngest is going into kindergarten, why would I look after other people's kids if I don't have to look after my own? So what can I do that really works around their school schedule? And I had a career in corporate marketing before I had kids. So I decided that I would launch a business in marketing, because that's what my background was. And over time, that business grew. It was super successful, and a version of it still exists today, which I can share a bit more about later. And through my journey of entrepreneurship, I learned that entrepreneurship can really be a tool for personal growth if you allow it to be. I mean, it's a relationship in itself.
Well, it becomes part of who you are.
Yeah, it really does.
All aspects of your life.
And reflects, like, you learn a lot about yourself through the journey of entrepreneurship. And for me, especially boundaries as well was something that kind of came flying at my face.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, There's so many correlations, and it just becomes part of, both versions of yourself, your business person and your personal. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap. So that's very cool.
Yes. Yeah. And through that was led to meditation, just as a tool to basically help me survive through raising a family, transitioning from being a stay-at-home mom to being a working mom, and the very quick success that came with the marketing agency that I grew. And through the journey of really discovering the gift of meditation and the presence that it can bring, led me to meditation teacher training. And I dove way deep into the ancient teachings of mindfulness and meditation and deepened my own practice, and took level 2 and 3 earlier in 2025, and then launched a business teaching mindfulness and meditation. So now those are kind of my 3 focuses. The marketing business kind of runs itself now. I've had that for 9 years.
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
Meditation and mindfulness is where my passion is. And then CWBN just it's its own, like, it's just unraveling in the most beautiful way. So I'm excited to share more about that.
I can't wait.
So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And you're so talented in everything you do. And I love working with you. Jill, she did my website, the original iteration of it. And I will continue to work with her on that. And then definitely looking forward to the CWBN being part of your membership. And I have yet to try your meditation, because I know you have. What platforms are you on? You have your own, right? Or you're on other people's?
Yeah, primarily I use Insight Timer, which is a free meditation app. And then also generally what I record, I put on YouTube as well. I'm not as
Okay.
great as making sure that they get on there, but those
Okay.
two, yeah.
So you have described yourself as an accidental entrepreneur. Do you still feel that way? And if so, how has your definition of success evolved from when you first started to where you are now?
It definitely has evolved. So I do describe myself as an accidental entrepreneur because it wasn't something I dreamed of. And I feel like we were still developing the broad awareness of what women were capable of when I was in high school. So when I was in high school, there wasn't any career counseling around a woman being an entrepreneur. And yeah. And so it was never on my radar. My radar was to be an executive assistant to a business owner, not to be the business. When I
Mm,
started my marketing business, it felt like it kind of fell into my lap. And I
mm,
actually, at that point, was signed up to be an education assistant, to go to school, to be an education assistant
mm,
so I could work around the kids' schedule. And I
right.
had a girlfriend who was like, can you do some work for my business? And then it just snowballed from there. And I never ended up going to school. But now that I look back, I think like I had the daycare, which is a business. I had an online children's consignment store, which was a business, but I didn't see it that way. It was just like I was home with the kids and I was trying to fill my time. So I did these other things. I made diaper cakes for a while. So there was like a little breadcrumb trail that led me to this. So when I think back to the beginning of entrepreneurship, or even before that, before I called myself an entrepreneur, my success depended on my external experience, which I think is like really common. I think a lot of people are like, when I have the money,
Yeah.
when I have the house, when I have the car, when I have the accolades, then I'll be successful.
I can probably say that was kind of a similar experience for me because I mean, I think I dreamed of maybe being a nutritionist at one time, and then, I got into secretarial. They called it secretarial back then. And then, yeah, I became an executive assistant and all this other stuff. And then, my whole career as a photographer and makeup, I mean, that kind of fell into my lap as well. It was just kind of like, things just kind of appeared in my life.
I look at the marketing business and I had to overlap it with the daycare so that I could see it was a viable source of income. And my goal was by the time my daughter went into kindergarten, that I would be making the same, at least the same income that I was with the daycare. And so there was a 4 month overlap. And by the time September rolled around, I was making more than I was with the daycare. And I started the business so that I could be available for the kids, but I didn't build it proactively. I built it reactively. And,
Mm, yeah,
I
that's
was
important. Yeah.
absolutely. And in
Mm,
hindsight, like there's a lot of people who've written books on entrepreneurship, but I see it kind of like parenting where you can read all the manuals, but like you're on your own journey. So you're, there'll be guideposts, but you got to figure out a lot by yourself. At one point I had 9 employees and so many clients with
wow.
so many expectations. And I, as a recovering people pleaser, lost myself in that, just as we can lose ourselves in anything. I lost myself in my business. And one evening, my son came in. It was like the fifth time he could come into the office, and I had like so much to do, and it was late at night. And I mean, late for him. It was probably like 8 o'clock. And I turned to him and I snapped. And I was like, what do you want? And then in that moment, it was like I went outside myself and looked in and was like, oh my word, I began this so that I could be available for them. And now they're the burden that is keeping me
Right.
from this. And that's when I
Mm,
reassessed success and was like, this is not success. I've got the money. I've got like people are like, wow, look what you've created. And that felt great. But it
mm,
also felt shallow because
mhm.
inside I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it doesn't feel right.
Do you think those sound like were those the pivotal mindset shifts, or was there other moments that you could that were those as well that have brought you to where you are now?
I would say that moment with my son was like the moment where like time stopped and I was like, what am I doing? And then there were other lots of micro moments that were just kind of more guidance and directions. And what's
Yeah.
cool is that it wasn't like I had to go, okay, I have to full stop. or I've got to fire everybody and figure out what to do, or I have to keep pushing through. I was just like, okay, I developed this mantra that I would say to myself. I was like, I got to dismantle this, but I don't know how. And slowly over time, like it was only like maybe 3 or 4 months, some of my hardest clients left and my employees found other things, like just totally organically without me being like, we have to dismantle this. Um, and so I went down to like 2 or 3 employees, and then eventually it was down to just me, and I felt freedom. And I was like, oh, I made that happen because I thought that's what success was. And I had to learn the hard way that it wasn't. And through that journey, began speaking and talking about what entrepreneurship was like for me and how I marketed my business to get to the place of internal and external peace with what I was creating. And that just felt right. Again, it just felt like my whole body was like, yes. And every time I spoke, people loved what I said.
That's pretty pivotal in your journey
Yes.
from how I know you.
When I first started out as an entrepreneur and where my confidence was, and walking into a room of other business owners and just feeling like I don't belong here. I knew that there was something in my confidence that was lacking. And I knew that, like most people are nervous public speaking. But there was something in me that was like, I gotta get past this, because this is going to be a huge block for me. Networking is huge in business. And long story short, I joined Toastmasters. I put myself in uncomfortable situations all the time around just expanding my comfort zone and challenging my limiting beliefs around who I saw myself to be, and found myself on a stage in front of 400 people at this totally incredible event called DisruptHR. And we had 5 minutes to deliver a thought-provoking speech with slides that automatically changed every 10 seconds. So like it was like, you can't lose where you are because the slides just keep going.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yes. And I remember the event coordinator saying, like, once you're up there, you can really only see about 50 people in the audience. And I had heard that before. So I was like, okay, 50 people, I can do that. And I walk out and I'm like, oh my word, I can see every single face of all of these 400 people. And it was scary, but it was so invigorating. Like walking off that stage, I was like, oh, I got to do that again. And now I love it. I speak on marketing and my entrepreneurship journey. And I also speak about mindfulness and meditation and like how those tools can transform our inner landscape.
Mm-hmm. That's so amazing. Yeah. And where do you find those talks? Or are they just at various events that you get
Yeah.
invited to? Yeah.
Yeah. I speak a lot
Okay.
at like conferences, networking groups, and yeah, I just love it. It doesn't matter the size of the audience. I love it.
In terms of your creativity and your strategy, I mean, how do you balance the tension between being very deeply creative and also needing to be strategic in your business?
Traditionally, my experience or my projection of the entrepreneur life, and I think a lot of people share this projection, is that it's like very left brain, very hustle, very, very strategic, keep going, keep pushing through. There's a term called burnout culture that's used often in entrepreneurship. And honestly, my journey with mindfulness and meditation has been what has helped me to learn to be with the discomfort of that paradox, that my creative side just wants to be creative all the time. Like, and it's funny because website design can be technical, especially with, coding and layouts and all that kind of stuff. And I see it as art. Like it just allows me, it's a beautiful balance of the two. Like it allows me to just go right into that creative side and design, and also use that strategic left brain side. My girlfriend, she's actually launching her book next month, but she wrote a book that I was honored to be one of the first to read, the first version, called Joyful Creating. And it is basically exactly what you're talking about. It's about how to stay creative in a world that feels like it often diminishes that and makes creativity something that is an afterthought. And one thing
Mm-hmm.
that really stuck with me from her book was called joy dates, and to take yourself on a joy date. That is what we might consider purposeless. If I'm not going to do something or be productive in any way, why would I do it? And it's just like, it was such a great reminder that we don't need to be productive and doing all the time.
So, like, how would you describe the kind of transformation that you help people with, or hope to help people with, or experience when they work with you?
I would say it depends on what we're doing together. So if it is some like a mindfulness or sorry, a website client, then there's so much mindfulness that's woven into what we do too. The process is it's so intuitive and it's so beautiful to guide someone through their inner landscape to reflect what their heart is saying about their business into a website. And part of that is like helping to calm the mind, because our mind it's incessant and it can be frustrating. But that to me is part of the human experience, is that like we have a mind, the mind constantly thinks it is based on only experiences that it knows. But when we slow down and take time to pause, like you say, when you're out for your walk, that's the time that new ideas come, because your mind isn't so focused on something that happened in the past or going to happen in the future. And I think in working together with my clients and just going through the process of learning about their business, and through we co-regulate with everyone around us all the time. So when I'm alone with a client and we're able to co-regulate and like slow down their whole nervous system and get them to a state of like more calm and more presence, then it helps them to get access to thoughts that have maybe been dormant, or they haven't allowed those thoughts to come to the surface. And that's like something that I love so much about what I do.
So, how can you explain co-regulation? I mean, I imagine it's just getting on the same wavelength with your clients, or what does that mean?
Yeah, more or less, like energetically. So our nervous systems, like we all have our own operating system. It's all based on our past experiences. You may have heard, when someone walks into the room, you can feel their energy, and people with really strong energy can influence an entire room, whether it's what we would consider positive or negative. So if I have a client come in and they're super anxious, and I can tell that they have either had a day that's thrown them off, or that this is just life, that they're anxious and they've got a lot to do, and they're likely, as entrepreneurs, we think a lot about our to-do list and where we need to be in the future. Then part of it's even unconscious. Like I wouldn't say I'm thinking like, okay, I need to regulate this person. It's not my job to regulate people. But I spend a lot of time regulating myself and finding that balance place within my own energy. And I think that for people who do that, we naturally regulate other people. We give other people unconscious permission to slow down.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I can totally rate that or relate to that, because I'm starting to call myself more of an intuitive guide, because I am
Yeah.
very intuitive and
Mm-hmm.
highly sensitive and all those things, and I
Mm-hmm.
do feel people's energy very deeply, and it affects me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're the same way. So I'm wondering if you could speak to them. There's kind of two questions combined into one here. So, how has your personal mindfulness practice shaped the way you lead and support others in business? You spoke to that a little bit. And then, what role does your intuition play in your decision making as a business owner?
I meditate every single day. It's very rare for me to miss a morning of meditation. I try to meditate twice a day. My second one, I'm not so great at, but I'm also not perfect. So that stillness in the morning is like the foundation for the day. Like I know the days that I miss the meditation, I know how that day is different. I can feel that the vibrational set point of the day is different than the days that I meditate.
Well, and that mindfulness really does lead you to become more self-aware. I think that's what a lot of people can get help with, me included. Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about CWBN. So this is a community for female entrepreneurs. We've already got so many members who've already signed up, which is very awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities in doing this, and also for women in business?
I read The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell, and in it he talks about teaching at Sarah Lawrence in the States. And He
I
taught
love him.
so many women. So he talked about when women were joining the workforce, and he talked about how women came in with this energy of, we can do what men do and we'll match what they're doing. And how different it would have been if women had embraced what makes us unique and come in with that energy, and how complementary that would be, that men have their gifts and we have our gifts. And that's what I was thinking of as we were creating CWBN, was like, how can we come together as women, not in any competition with each other, not in competition with men or like in entrepreneurship. And like most people's experience is that it's very male dominated, and it it is remarkable to see what happens when women come together. And we launched this at the beginning of August, and it's been a remarkable journey. So within the first month, we had over 40 people sign up. We're over 60 people now. And it just, every day I open my email and there's more women who have joined. And the intention is that we get together to learn from each other, to collaborate and brainstorm ideas on how we can support one another and how we can give back to the community. And there's so many ideas around mentorship programs, fundraising to give back to women who want to start businesses but don't necessarily have the funds. As far as the biggest hurdle, it's diversifying and learning how we can create an inclusive space where all women and everyone who identifies as a woman feels safe and comfortable and finds a place of belonging within our organization. And I mean, I just think I'm excited to learn. I know that there's a lot of growth that comes with that, but diversifying the group is something that is really important to me, because I really want to make sure that we are giving back to places that really need it. And I think having diverse women in the group will help us accomplish that.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great place for everyone to be inspired and help each other in their journeys of success and making a difference. So I'm super excited to see what the ripple effects are going to be once it gets started. What challenges have you run into along the way? And you've spoken to a few of them so far, but how did you move through them?
Yes. So as I said before, I identify as a recovering people pleaser. And you may have heard the term shadow or shadow work before. And it's actually a term that is rooted in Jungian psychology from a fellow named Carl Jung, who was a pioneer in psychotherapy. And what he considers the shadow, and my understanding, is that it is a part of our unconscious where we tuck parts of ourselves that were not accepted by our family, our community, our culture. And in popular culture, the shadow is a place of all of our quote unquote bad parts, and usually things that we don't want to show other people because it's considered bad or wrong in some capacity. And in a book that I just finished, the author is challenging that to say Carl Jung also stated that there are tons of gems and jewels and crystals and good parts of ourselves that we place in our unconscious as well, that were also rejected by ourselves, by our family, our culture, our community. And until we can turn into that shadow and own and face those bad parts, or what's considered bad, we will not be able to find those jewels and those gifts of things that make us really unique. It's not easy. I mean, anyone on the journey knows that you have to face some really, really dark things. And like, we can talk about people pleasing from a surface level and go, haha, people please, she's such a people pleaser. Look at that thing that she did, or look at what I used to do. But at the depths of it, it's self-abandonment. And I had to look really, really deeply at my self-abandonment and where I was putting everyone, clients, colleagues, my family, everyone ahead of my own needs, and what that self-abandonment was doing and how it was destroying me. And the health things that came up, like, as you know, I had cervical cancer. I've had so many, so many health things that manifested, I believe, as a result of not taking care of my body, my mind, my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And through facing that and learning how to create boundaries and going through some very uncomfortable experiences of having boundaries and um, learning to be okay with disappointing people, and that sometimes, in fact, often, it's better to disappoint someone else than it is to disappoint ourselves. And then to rebuild
Mm-hmm.
that trust.
Yeah.
That's when I started to find these gifts that were like, oh my gosh, like I do feel grounded and I can call myself a good public speaker and I am really good at business. And I couldn't do that before.
I can relate to everything you're saying for sure, because I know that sometimes, I'm a lot better at it now, but like, when somebody would compliment me, I'd be like, oh, thanks, like, it would be hard to receive compliments, and then because, obviously it's mirroring something in me that's saying, oh, I don't believe that about myself. Let's talk a little bit about behind the scenes, because I think people would probably be interested and intrigued to learn more about you as a leader and a business owner, female business owner especially. What does your typical day look like personally and professionally? And how do you stay inspired?
I'm fairly regimented in my routine for my day, and my day
Mm-hmm.
revolves around taking care of my mind, body, and spirit. And it begins with meditation and yoga. I don't do yoga every day, usually 4 to 5 times a week.
Mm,
Yoga can be the one that my mind is like, oh, I don't want to go. I don't want to do it.
yeah,
And I actually only do it at home. I don't have to go anywhere.
right. Yeah,
But
but
what
it's
works for me,
self-discipline.
yeah, self-discipline. And I
Yeah,
notice
that's
that
hard.
like it's basically it feels to me like overriding my mind that's saying, I don't want to do this. And instead I'll just say, keep moving in that direction, keep moving, keep moving. And then eventually I'm on the mat and
Mm,
I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it. I just kept moving in this direction and
oh,
not
that's
letting
a
my
good
mind
one.
win. And eventually I arrive there. Um, it can be a juggle because I'm a single mom as well. So my kids, being a mom is like the best, my favorite hat of all the hats I wear. Being a mom is my favorite one. And there can be times where the kids need to take priority over lots of other things. And sometimes it can be frustrating when it feels like my to-do list is really long and I'm being pulled in so many different directions. And I remind myself
Mm-hmm.
it's all temporary. Like they're teenagers. Like
Mm,
yesterday they were
it's true.
toddlers and tomorrow they're going to be moved out. And
Mm-hmm.
I just think this is all temporary. Even the days that I wake up with a dark cloud over my head or I don't want to get out of bed, I just think, well, it's temporary. Like, tomorrow will be different, or, the next hour will be different. But I've learned over time that when I take care of my mind, body, and spirit is when it's the easiest to not get pulled off my center. I know where my center is now. I didn't know for a long time. So I was just pulled here, there, and everywhere. And when I turned 40, I went to Europe for 2 weeks by myself. And there was one moment, lots of moments, but one in particular in my mind where I was walking down the street, the sun was shining, I was listening to my favorite song in my earbuds, and I thought, oh my gosh, I know who I am. Like I know this feeling, this is me, this feeling right now, this is who I am. And I locked that feeling into my nervous system as a reference point when I'm not on my center. And I've learned to not be too hard on myself when I'm not, because that's being a human. I'm eating well, drinking lots of water, spending time with my girlfriends, journaling, being in nature. Like there's so many different things that help me to stay on my center.
I don't know how it does. It just psychologically brings you back and grounds you, and then you can, how should I say, operate from a more peaceful so a couple more things, because I know we did, and this kind of speaks to, the groundedness, the self-perception, self-image. We did your photos for your business, and I would love for you to share kind of what that experience was like for you. Did it, did you experience any um, personal mindset shifts around how you looked at yourself, confidence? And how was that for you in terms of how, those images helped you in your business?
So I knew that I was going through a huge internal shift, and I felt like I was becoming not like a different or better version of me, just like more me. I was becoming more me. And I had said from the get-go, I want these photos to reflect who I am now. And as you know, I had just gone through a separation from my partner of 20 years. It was a massive life change for me. And I wanted to see, who am I now? Who am I as just Jill? Like, and not even just, but like, who am I as Jill? And I felt really nervous going into it because, as I said, like we all have something, at least one thing we can nitpick at ourselves about of our physical appearance. And so I felt nervous for probably the first, like maybe half an hour of the photo shoot. And being in your presence, Linda, it was like, by the end of it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's over already. Like it just felt like I feel beautiful. I feel like I've tapped into some sort of wavelength that is flowing out of me. I feel like my light is shining. And then to see the photos after, like I actually remember taking a picture with my phone of the computer screen and sending it to my mom and being like, Mom, can you believe that this is me? Like, I cannot believe this is me. It was such a beautiful experience. And I get, like, they're all over my website, and yeah, you share them. Like, I get so many compliments on them.
Do you feel that's helped your business?
Absolutely. So when I get compliments on, like I said, it's such a boost in confidence for me to get compliments on the pictures. But the number of people who have said, like, that picture, friends who know me, and they're like, that picture is so you. And the people who I don't know that compliment on the pictures, what comes through is that, like, I'm shining. My essence is shining through that picture. And like we talked about energy earlier through co-regulation, and while generally that's not done in an image, it does feel like an image you can look at an image and be turned on or turned off by it. And like I say the same thing about a website. Like, you don't want your website to attract every single human being. You want it to attract the ones you want to work with and turn away the rest.
Yeah, and I look at the whole process is an energy exchange. So when we're taking the photos, and we're talking before and during and after, and then once your photos are up, it's all energy that's being emitted.
Yeah.
Forward 5 years from now, I mean, what is your big dream or vision for your work? Like, what's your, ultimate purpose? Like, what do you want to see happen as a result?
What I say to myself about the future is, I travel the world speaking and writing. And it's been a dream to travel the world. And I think, like, a lot of times when we start business, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who want to impact the world. And there's a saying in marketing that is, think globally, act locally. And so right now, my energy is focused on my specific community and growing my community here. And I trust that my journey will take me to traveling the world, speaking and inspiring other people, that, like, tapping into our uniqueness is the best gift that we can give ourselves and the world. I'm writing a book, and I know I've got many books in me. So I want to travel around just writing and expressing and sharing and learning and experiencing. And I don't know how to make that all happen right now. And I trust that I don't need to know every single step. I'd be overwhelmed if I could see every step.
Yeah, trusting what is meant for you will be. I hear that a lot, and I try to, incorporate that into my my faith or whatever, my beliefs. So in terms of legacy, I mean, that sounds like what is the piece that you feel would be your legacy?
To inspire people to discover what makes them unique and express that in whatever way makes them happy.
Like, I mean, there's a real gift when, if you can impress that on, anyone, what is possible for them, right? One last question. What would be one piece of advice you might give them, no matter where they are on their journey?
Yeah. It might sound overly simple, but it actually is meant to be. And it is just take one step, like one thing. And it's more simple than you think. Like, I was talking with a friend who's a coach, and I was saying, I've got this big plan for this business I want to create, and I want to do this and this, and I don't know where to start. I want to do a masterclass. And he's like, do you want to commit to, like, one thing for that? Like, what by when is kind of a coach term. And I said, I want to pick a date to do a masterclass, and I guess I'll pick it by Sunday. And then I was like, and he's like, nope, no, and then that's just it. Pick the date by Sunday. And I was like, what? That And then I'm doing it. And by Sunday, I'd picked the date, made the poster, and started emailing people. And it just felt so easy. I was like, oh, all I got to do is pick the date. I could do that. Like, make it super small micro steps and just pick one thing. That's it.
It is very powerful. Yeah. Once you commit to it. So
Thank
looking
you.
forward to being a part of the Cowichan Women's Business Network, working together again. I can't wait for everyone to hear our conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Linda.
All right. Take care. We'll chat again soon.